Is AI finally moving out of the lab and into the boardroom? And if it is, who's actually driving it? Well, in today's episode, I reconnect with the Chief Information Officer at BlackLine. His name's Sumit, and it's always a pleasure to have him on the podcast. Today, we're going to explore the rapid evolution of AI adoption across finance and enterprise tech. And when we last spoke, towards the end of last year, AI was still in pilot stage for many. And today, of course, everything's about agentic AI. Sumit describes a very different landscape now, one where business leaders are now the ones pushing IT to move faster. But what makes this conversation especially valuable is Sumit's clarity on what real transformation takes. He unpacks how CIOs must be multilingual, speaking both technology and business fluently, to align stakeholders, mitigate risk, and deliver results. And we'll also dig into the build versus buy dilemma for AI agents, the growing collaboration between CIOs and CFOs, and the real-world risks that still go unnoticed, and that rush to implement new tools. And just when you think you're done, Sumit throws a cosmic curveball with a book recommendation that has nothing to do with finance and everything to do with understanding our place in the universe. So, what does it mean to be a modern CIO in an AI-first enterprise? And how can technology leaders move from deployment to durable value without falling into the traps of cost, complexity, or hype? Well, enough from me. Let me get my friend Sumit back onto the podcast now. So thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Can you remind the listeners of who you are and what you do? Because you've been on before, right?
Absolutely, Neil. And thank you for inviting me again. My name is Sumit Johar. I am CIO at BlackLine. Been with the company for just over a year now. And in my past life, I've been a CIO for a couple of other organizations. As far as what I do, I am responsible for driving and running the technology operations, internal operations for BlackLine. And part of my responsibility, one, is to make sure that we are leveraging and modernizing our internal systems so our business can perform efficiently. At the same time, I am also responsible for running our information security program as well. So driving innovation, driving transformation, but doing it in a way that is secure and compliant.
Well, I think the last time we spoke was right at the beginning of the year. We were talking about BlackLine's perspective on driving at efficiency and innovation in the world of finance. But I would urge anyone listening that hasn't heard that to go check that out. But for anyone listening, hearing from you for the first time, hearing about BlackLine for the first time, can you just offer a bit of an overview of the company and the kind of problems you're helping finance teams solve with automation and AI?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, BlackLine is a global software organization. We are headquartered in Woodland Hills in Los Angeles here, and a company of around 2,000 employees all over the world, supporting more than 4,000 customers. Well, what we do for a living is we help finance organizations automate their back office accounting operations. And I understand not everybody is aware of the complexity of these accounting operations, but these are very critical operations, especially when you're trying to close a quarter. If you're a public company, you will know that last few weeks and sometimes, a couple of weeks after the quarter end up being spent on reconciling all of your bookings, billings, banking statements and everything. It's a pretty long, lengthy, complex process. We help organizations close their quarter efficiently, reliably, and accurately. In addition to that, we also support automating your intercompany accounting. We help you automate your invoice to cash process. So we do a lot of things, but financial close is a big part of our business.
The last time we spoke, as I said, we explored AI's impact on finance, but 6 months since we last spoke, or actually 7 or 8 months since we last spoke, that is a long time now at the pace of technological change. So how has the conversation evolved since we last spoke, especially when it comes to investment priorities between CIOs and CFOs? Any insights from those conversations you've been having?
Neil, in the world of AI, every day is a new day. I mean,
Yeah.
6 months is like forever. So yes, a lot has changed in the last 6 months. I would say last year we were talking about AI and its potential and its impact and how we are kicking off AI programs across the business, across the company. And we let's call it a pilot phase where we were trying to educate everybody about how you can, transform your operations and what kind of potential AI can provide. In some ways, I would say we were trying to create awareness about the art of possibility. What all can you achieve with AI? Now, when we were doing that, there was also a little bit of skepticism among, some business functions about, hey, is it really a mature technology? Are you sure this is not going to cause me harm? Because I'm hearing about all kind of, risks with it. And there was also a little bit of skepticism about, is this one of those, bubbles that ultimately are going to burst, and this is just a temporary kind of, hype? I would say we have come out of the hype and we have accepted this as a reality. This is not just technology leaders talking about AI anymore. This is business community, business functions asking for AI. They have understood the potential now. So the discussion has moved to, when are you going to give me more AI? I mean, how long do I need to wait? Because everybody's asking for it now, and everybody's accepted that risk has come down and their opportunity is much bigger than they thought. So that's what has changed.
And you've previously described today's CIO as needing to be multilingual. So, what does that look like in practice, especially when aligning with finance leaders on where and how to invest in a heavy, complex tech project like AI?
Neil, the role of CIO within organizations has kept evolving for the last few years. I mean, I remember when I took up my first CIO job, a lot of people still looked at me as a technologist, and they would come and talk to me only if they need to discuss technology. And in the eyes of business, I would say technology was viewed as an enabler for business or running their business, ensuring that the business continues running without interruption. That was, I would say, the case a few years ago. But with whatever is happening or has happened in the last few years, the impact of technology on business has grown so much that CIOs now are in the middle of conversations about how can I help you totally transform your operations with business. And that requires CIOs to speak in the language their business leaders speak. It's simply not possible for a CIO to propose new ideas to their leaders if CIOs don't understand their business processes. So, I got a pretty strong technology team. I know they can build solutions, and I don't need to understand the nuts and bolts of every single thing, but I do feel that I need to understand how the business runs across the company, because in my role, I see everything end to end. I see how when they move from marketing to sales to delivery to finance to booking to invoicing. I mean, we have that visibility end to end, and we are in a really good spot to identify inefficiencies, identify duplication of efforts, and make really good recommendations. And that is only possible if we can speak in the language of the business. So I spend a lot of time talking to my CFO, my CTO, and my sales leaders, uh, helping them understand where the technology can help make their processes work better. So that's what we call as multilingual CIO, just being able to speak in the language they speak, because they are also trying the same thing. I mean, businesses are trying to learn about technology, and technology teams are trying to learn about their business processes. The line keeps blurring, but that's the best part of it. I mean, these functions are coming closer to each other.
And agentic AI is another topic that has gained so much ground since we last spoke. And there's been a lot of talk this year about launching swarms of AI agents. And in some circles, there's a bit of a concern about AI sprawl across entire enterprise systems. But why do you believe AI is different from, I don't know, let's say a typical SaaS adoption? And what risks are organizations possibly underestimating, do you think?
Well, that's a good comparison because SaaS explosion isn't very old. I mean, if you recall, just 10 years ago when SaaS happened, there was a big sprawl, and people like me, technology leaders, were all struggling, to put some sort of governance around it because that is a critical part of our role. I mean, our CEOs look at us to make sense of all the technology investments that are being made and making sure that they work with each other, they fit well with each other, and we don't end up paying an arm and leg for these investments, and that became a problem at the time. But I would say with SaaS, it was largely a problem of cost management, governance, and making sure that these investments fit in your larger enterprise architecture. With AI, it keeps changing. First of all, the challenges keep changing every day, but at the moment what we are dealing with is when businesses want to go buy AI based agents, they are sometimes not quite clear about the risk associated with them in terms of data privacy, security, ethics, and sometimes even reliability or predictability of the outcomes of these AI agents. Because the thing with AI agents is that if I show you a nice little demo, it can excite you to a level where you are ready to buy it right now because it really, provides a great first impression. But as you start, digging deeper, you will realize that, if you don't prepare yourself for when AI does not work for you, you can put yourself at risk if you have not put in the right controls to protect yourself against, for those kind of situations. Um, Sometimes business teams also do not realize that there is a inherent expectation that AI agents are only as good as the quality of the data within your organization. And if the data is already a mess, AI agent isn't going to come and magically work with bad data. So all these things about quality of data, predictability of the outcome, troubleshooting when things don't come, securing your data, making sure AI does not spit out your private data and, elsewhere. There's so many things that have to be looked at. And that, makes me more concerned while making decisions about the sprawl of AI agents more than the cost part as we had or as we seen when SaaS exploded.
And with AI now influencing everything from forecasting to compliance, how do you and your CTO counterpart, Jeremy Ung, who's going to be also joining us on the podcast later this year with you, I believe, but how does his approach to shared responsibility for IT strategy? Anything you can share around that?
Well, sure. I mean, Jeremy and I, first of all, we work very closely on everything AI, even though our responsibilities are slightly, separated. I mean, Jeremy is responsible for driving AI-led innovation on the product side for our customers. So he's very customer focused. And as far as my role is concerned, I'm trying to drive the same AI-based innovation, automation, transformation for our internal operations. But end of the day, whether we are supporting our customers or we are supporting our employees, there has to be a synergy in the approach we are using. We both are executives. We both end up meeting with customers at some stage or the other, and it will be odd if we are solving the same problem for customers differently than what we are approaching for our employees. So we try to make sure that our stories align. We try to make sure that the strategy of what kind of tooling, what kind of approach that we are taking for risk management with AI, all of that ultimately work together. And the good news is that that the partnership that we have built together, is actually helping us achieve exactly that. At the same time, I would also say that the internal governance that we have built within the organization, a couple of councils come to my mind. There is an AI related councils to manage the risks, and then there is an AI council that we have for driving transformation. We have the right participation from both sides of the organization. Jeremy and I both sit in a couple of these councils that I mentioned. So the governance that we have built within the company also allows us to talk about these things together all the time to make sure there is a clear alignment. But yes, both of us have similar responsibilities when it comes to strategy, but different focus, and extremely important for us to stay aligned.
And I'm curious, what's your take on the current build versus buy dilemma in this AI-driven era, and how are you ensuring that that decision remains sustainable and scalable long term? I suspect there ain't no one size fits all for everyone, but what's your take on this debate?
Neil, build versus buy is a very relevant, timely, and ongoing conversation that we are going through. I would say when AI was new, a couple of years ago, we didn't have the tooling, platforms, or honestly, even understanding about building anything AI related. So at that time, buying was the only choice. But as the technology ecosystem has evolved, as the vendors, started providing platforms that allow you to build simple AI agents by yourself, we now feel that we have built a team over time that can build AI agents if we need to. At the same time, we are also being very careful when is the right time to build or buy, and a lot of that depends on the long-term cost to build and maintain these AI agents. It also depends on the complexity of these AI agents, because we don't want an internal IT organization to be building something that requires tens and tens of engineers to build and maintain over time. That is not in the best interest. Long-term maintenance is a real big issue. So there are areas where technology has become simpler enough when we choose to build something. There are also instances where we feel like our needs are so unique that building is simply not an option, because we will end up customizing whatever we buy so much that it does not make sense to buy. But a lot of other times, when whatever we're buying is out of the box, it's going to plug and play, and it fits really well within our ecosystem, why not just go and buy? So the key is to make sure that these decisions are made collectively in a very thoughtful manner, rather than just letting somebody go and individually make that decision.
And I always try and give everyone listening some valuable takeaways. So if there's any CIOs listening out there, what are some of the key questions that CIOs should be asking today, especially before they even begin integrating AI into their finance and accounting operations? You've probably seen a few mistakes along the way. So what questions should they be asking before starting that process?
Well, a few things come to my mind, Neil. I think, first of all, it is extremely important to ask yourself within the organization, and I would highly recommend having these conversations at the management level. What is it that we are expecting from AI? Because if the conversation start with, why are we not deploying AI? I would say that question should come later. The first question to ask ourselves is, how do we think AI can transform our operations? And are we ready for that? What are the pockets, or what are the areas where we feel like we want to drive transformation first before anywhere else? Are we prepared for that? Do we have the teams? Do we have the skill set? Have we invested in people, process, technology to be able to prepare us to drive that transformation? And if we have not, then you might be up for surprises. You might be up for failures that you did not anticipate. Most of the CIOs that I speak to are sharing the same experience, that it takes a while before you see the ROI actually getting realized with your investment. So it's very important to set that expectation. People sometimes have this unrealistic expectation that, this is a very quick invest and see the benefits of AI. It's actually not. So ensuring that your management understands that, ensuring that they understand the investment it requires for long-term success for AI program. Also very important that if it is just a few people within an IT organization trying to drive AI-based transformation, that is never going to scale. It's extremely important to evangelize among your entire employee and customer community about the right use of AI. If they are not behind you and if they don't understand how to use the AI in the right manner, you might actually end up making much more mistakes. So I would highly emphasize on the evangelizing part. You need to build a culture that supports AI, understands AI, and embraces AI, and then only AI can produce the value that you're expecting.
Fantastic advice. And if we do dare to look even further ahead on a human side of things, how do you see that relationship between CIOs and CFOs? How do you see that evolving as AI becomes more embedded into enterprise workflows? Do you see any big changes here?
Well, the changes that I've seen are actually positive changes. I mean, if I just look at my own relationship with our own CFO, I think last time when we spoke, we probably had a different CFO. Since then, he has left and retired, and now we have Patrick, our new CFO, who's an amazing young CFO leader who likes to drive transformation, not only outside his organization, but is very emphatic about bringing AI within his own organization also, just like our previous CFO. So the way I see the conversations evolving are from confusion to acceptance. I think the CFOs now have accepted the reality of what AI can bring and actually help them meet their own objectives, because the CFOs care about margins, profitability, growth. I mean, these are the things that they care deeply about, and AI can directly help them on meeting these objectives. So I'm not dealing with as much skepticism anymore. I think these days we are talking a lot more about, hey, Sumit, how can you help me drive transformation within my own organization? And how can I help you invest in the right tooling? So it is a very positive conversation that I see that happening. I also feel that long term, these two roles are going to complement each other much more. CFOs are expected to support and drive transformation across the organizations, and they're going to need the help from CIOs. And CIOs are expected to, provide all the technology means to drive the transformation, and they need the right support from on the investment side from the CFOs. So, this relationship is extremely important and can really complement each other for the good cause of the organization's success.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me back on the podcast. Now, as you know, we have a bit of a tradition here. Before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to leave one final gift for everyone listening, and that is a song that we can add to our Spotify playlist, or a book that you'd recommend that we can add to our Amazon wish list. I don't mind what it is, but what would you like to leave everyone listening with today?
Well, I'm not as much into music, so I'll give you my take on a book. And I really like to discover the hidden realities of the universe. That is the only hobby, that is the only passion I have. If I wasn't a CIO, I probably would be doing something in the world of physics. And there is an physicist that I follow. His name is Dr. Neil deGrasse, and he wrote a book called Welcome to the Universe. I would highly recommend anybody who has interest in learning about how the universe works, how the life was created, how the planets were created, where is the universe going, how is it going to end. If those are the kind of interests you have, which I don't come across with too many people, but that is what I am very passionate about, I would highly recommend reading that book. It's called Welcome to the Universe by Dr. Neil deGrasse.
Oh, wow. I'm going to be checking that out for sure. And I'll get that added to the Amazon wish list. And of course, for anyone listening wanting to dig a little bit deeper on anything BlackLine and the topics we discussed and keep up to speed with your work, where would you like to point everyone?
Well, as far as BlackLine's resources are concerned, we have a really nice website. Just go to www.blackline.com. It is our marketing team did a fantastic job a few months ago, and revising and transforming this website. So that's one good place for them to go. If you are a customer, first of all, thank you for being a customer. We have also a very nice community that you can find the link on the website itself, and the community itself provides all sorts of resources for you to learn about BlackLine. It also connects you to many other customers, so you can go and ask questions, learn from each other. But yeah, these are the two main resources I would highly recommend.
Well, I'll add a link so people can find you nice and easily. And BlackLine have got this great reputation for helping your customers tackle complex finance and accounting challenges. But I love hearing more about this next chapter and how artificial intelligence is helping reshape the finance industry, the roles that CIOs will play in driving digital transformation. And hey, we even had a few minutes to talk about the secrets of the universe too in this 30-minute podcast. So thank you so much. I look forward to speaking with you again in a few months, when I think you're going to be joined by your CTO counterpart, Jeremy Ung. So I look forward to that. But just thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Appreciate that. I look forward to see you again.
I think what struck me most in this conversation with Sumit is just how much the narrative around AI has shifted in just a few short months. We're no longer asking questions like, has AI got a role in enterprise finance? The question now is, how are we going to deploy it wisely, securely, sustainably, without overwhelming our teams or fragmenting data systems? And I think Sumit offered a grounded perspective on everything from AI sprawl to internal governance, reminding us that successful adoption isn't just about tooling, it's about alignment. It's about the partnerships between CIOs and CFOs, and it's about asking the right questions before making any investment. And I think most importantly of all, his reflections on being a multilingual CIO also echo something I've been hearing repeatedly from leaders this year. And that is, transformation doesn't happen in silos. It happens in conversations between finance and equally any stakeholder from around the business, and tech, and everything between engineering and operations, and often in quiet alignment that happens behind the scenes. So being able to speak both of those languages, being the bridge between those two worlds, has never been more important. But what's your view? Are we equipping our tech leaders with the time, with the space, and the support that they need to lead responsibly? Or are we still expecting rapid deployment without long-term thinking? I'd love to hear what is resonating with you right now. So email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. But thank you for listening. Really appreciate your time in getting to the end of this episode and learning from the insights. But I really do hope that you make that final. But I really do hope you break the fourth wall and contact me. Let me know your thoughts, your experiences, and your insights. But that's it for today. So I'll be back again soon with another guest. But thank you for listening as always. Bye for now.